Welcome, Ellen and Dominique, to the Root of Our Health. It is such a pleasure to have you both on here. Thank you so much for making the time to come on today.
It's an honor.
With
We're so
pleasure.
happy.
Great, great. I love to have two people on because it's a great way to have two, similar conversations and then different conversations as well. So it's so great to have you both. I like to start obviously getting my audience and me getting to know you a little bit better. Um while I do a bio, like an introduction, and I already introduced you and gave your bio, and people can go to your website and on your social media. We have everything on that. So what I'm kind of curious is, and I'll start with you, Ellen. What is one thing that you want me and my audience to know that's not on any social media website or even in your bio?
You know what? I would like you to know why Dominique and I are working together.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so can
Yeah,
I start sharing that? And
I would
then
love that.
Dominique, if you'd like to, you can pick up at one point.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, as you said in my bio, I am a health and wellness coach with a master's in health and wellness coaching. I run health and wellness worldwide, globally. Workplace wellness is my baby. And one day I saw there was a presentation going on downtown Geneva. We're from near Geneva, Switzerland, by a woman who was going to speak about finding work beyond age 45. And I was approaching that age, and I was noticing this shift. Elizabeth, you might have noticed the same with your coaching clients. As I grew older, my clients grew older, and I was resonating with people like me. And so that presentation interested me. And I went to this presentation, and the woman was really good. And I was fortunate enough to sit next to her. And when I sat next to her over good food and good wine, which is one of our Dolce Vita mottos between us, I realized a lot of coaching clients were coming to me for health and wellness issues, but their problem was their job. And Dominique, who was the presenter that day, looked at me and she said, so many people are coming to me with job issues, and their problem is their health and wellness. So again, there, Dominique, pick it up from there. Pick it up from
Yeah,
there.
and what we find interesting is that over the years that we've been working together, there are things that I bring to Ellen in terms of, my career background and my entrepreneurship experience today, which is very useful to her. And she brings her expertise to me. And thanks to her, I lost 10 kilos and regain, my energy and my quality of sleep and so on. So beyond the work that we do together is we also share our experience, passion for the benefit of the other. And that's what we are convinced makes a lot of sense in the entrepreneurship today is the ability to work in an ecosystem where we give and take and help and support beyond the usual partnership business relationship that we may have. And we'll talk about entrepreneurship for the 50 plus, but that's something that is super important for us is the ability to support each other, energize each other, calm down and or incentivize and use that experience for our partnership as well.
That's beautiful. So it's like the yin and yang. You guys,
Totally.
Yep.
you both,
Yeah.
mesh well together. You both have your experiences, but your strengths to where and your challenges to where you could, offset both of those. That's amazing. And it's maybe a little woo-hoo to say, but or woo-woo, I should say, to you're sitting there, right? And it's as if the universe brought you together. It's as if
Totally
like
serendipitous.
it was meant to be. It was, and I don't like to use the word fate, but I like to have more of the universe kind of like working itself out for you both. And it's just like it's just a match made in heaven. So that's an amazing thing to kind of have, and I wish everybody could have that, right? So
It is
amazing.
precious. Yes.
Mhm.
So now I want to know, and we were talking about entrepreneurship, right? We're talking about your business. So I want to know more about the company Wake Up, Shake Up, and Thrive. So can you tell either one, whoever wants to start first, and then if you want to bounce off each other, that's fine.
Mhm. I can take
Great.
that if you want, Ellen.
Great, go for it.
So
You know I'll
there's
bounce.
there's a story behind the name, obviously, and that was something that we came quite quickly, and that's thanks to the creative Ellen here, that we have this name. But behind it, there's a lot of important and serious topic or serious reason. The wake up is that we are now living beyond, the COVID's impact and the economy impact and so on. There is a demographic change that most people don't realize how enormous, how huge, how impactful it is. And we feel it's our duty to spread the word and to wake up the consciousness that there is something going on that needs to be addressed in most of the countries today. The fact that the population is getting older and older is not only, I mean, it's obvious, but the vast impact of it on the companies, on talent management, on making a second career or third career, and so on, that has a huge impact. So wake up is important for us. The sense of urgency is important. The shake up is to make sure that people unlearn to relearn something new, and that is possible at any age. And the shaking up is to make sure that, yes, we shake ourselves up physically and move and have an activity that allow our body to be healthy, but it's also shaking up the mindset and shaking up the consciousness. And thrive, because we both experience most, not most, but a big chunk of our success at the later stage of our life. And it's not is not a given that the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s is just waiting for life to stop. We want, and we have so far made sure that the decades that we are living, the 50s, the 60s, and so on, are the best ever of the life. And that is not a marketing tagline. It's what we live every day, and that we help our clients experience as well. And yes, there is a great life waiting for most people after their 50s and 60s and 70s. And yes, you can fall in love when you're 80. And yes, you can create your own company when you're 79. And yes, you can explore the world and change job after you're 55 or 60. So that's the story behind Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive. But you may want to add something, Ellen.
Elizabeth, did you want to add anything before I do?
Right. So my response is yes. Yes to all of it, because I'm 45, and I literally at age 40 decided to transition 180 into a different a different career. So I was in the apparel industry, and I'm like, I need to be more into health and wellness. This is who I am. And I decided to create more, the business and start podcasting. And that's the whole thing of this podcast, right? Or in general, it is never too late. And and that's where we're all of us are shaking up the stigma of saying that, you know what, as you said, Dominique, it's people think, and especially women, I think women, we tend to think, okay, well, 40, oh my gosh, hormones, menopause, oh my gosh, and then 50, well, there you go, my life is over. And then you just kind of spiralize, and it's not just the thinking, but it's also, our bodies do change, right? So it's, how do we get to that point of taking control of it? And it is that shaking up. It is saying you have the ability to take control of your body, does its own thing. So mind, body, and then you have the ability to just thrive. right?
Mhm.
You have the ability to, as you say, Dominique, 55, change it up. 60, oh my goodness, I'm stronger than ever. And it's just an age. It's just a number. So it's
Mhm.
how we step up in our lives and use each day to progress into the next day. And I think that's where people grow stronger and stronger and stronger. So
Mhm.
I'm with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and your words are really well put. Dominique, a lot of our work is in the corporate world. We work with groups in large organizations, especially. We're working with an organization this right now that is named 2022. The year age is just a number. So it's actually quite interesting that it's actually coming through the diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation, because such a great part of the workforce is over about 50 years old. So it's very, very interesting. And people are retiring later and later because they're living longer and longer.
Right. And going along with what, who you service, I am also a wellness coach for corporations.
Mhm,
So I understand that. And I've been there. I've been in the burnout stage. I've been in
mhm,
corporations to where literally cry to and from. And it's not a healthy way to live. And that's
no.
where I think, yes, people are getting older as they're working, and hopefully they're staying in their jobs for a good reason, that they
Mhm,
like where they work.
mhm,
And the whole thing, I'm sure, Ellen, that you do is you come in there and say, look, we got to take care of ourselves in order
mhm.
to be
It's
more
kind of the
productive.
oxygen mask. Yeah, it's kind of the
Exactly.
oxygen mask. Yeah, and
Exactly.
what we do is, and it's very interesting because now we've actually even developed a training program for coaches to create the ripple effect. So we train coaches in our approach. So I think it'd be maybe interesting to just tell you what our approach is, which is
Yeah.
we've already spoken about the holistic nature, but this is not holistic just buzz. This is, we are working together with two talents. We always work together
Mm.
because we cover different realms. That's the first holistic piece. The second holistic piece, Elizabeth, is our 5 dimensions of well-being. So clearly, we do look at physical well-being. We look at nutrition, activity, sleep, and body movement. Of course, of course. We look at the emotional dimension. Not only how to address our emotions, how to express our emotions, but how they change throughout a lifetime. We then look at the spiritual dimension. And it's quite interesting when we arrive with that word in these multinational companies, and then we switch the word and we say, what if we talk about purpose? And then we've got the great resignation, we've got the quiet quitting, we've got the total alignment of the workforce. And this is a fascinating statistic, by the way, Dominique, that I only saw 2 days ago. There's a new Gallup poll out where that actually polled the 4 generations. The number one priority of the younger generations, both millennials and Gen Z, is well-being. I want my company to take care of me. That is the second priority of the 2 older generations. But just to say, taking care of my well-being is the reason people are, just like you said. So we do a deep dive on that, aligning with our purpose, not only with self, with job, but with your employer. You might have a great job, but not be aligned with your employer, or vice versa. So that is the spiritual dimension, and finally the financial dimension. The financial dimension, we don't do a deep dive on your 401k. Typically, we will bring someone in that will do that. And honestly, typically, most people do something about that around, 45, 50, start thinking about retirement and stuff like that. Like, I have to start building, as we say with Dominique, don't grow old waiting. But we look at money mindset. How do you want to spend your money? How do you want to save your money? What's important to you? Aligning with your values once again, because in a lifetime, these things change. So we always, everything we do, first of all, we do it together with Dominique and I, both heads. And the second thing we do is we cover these 5 dimensions.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And it's just basically because we're not it's not one bucket that we go through life, right? It's all of them. It's taking care of every, the holistic being in terms of what's in our life. And it's like I have like a life circle, like a circle of life.
Of
So it's
course
talking
we do
about
too.
relationships, it's talking about finances, it's talking about
Of
work,
course.
it's talking about health and wellness, meaning nutrition and fitness. It's talking about all of that. Because that's what it encompasses our day-to-day lives, right? So how are we showing up, or how are we interacting with each of those buckets in each of that wheel? So
You know, it's interesting that you call them buckets. Dominique, can if you're unmuted there, can you
Yes.
change the conversation from buckets to what we call these various things here? It's quite
okay,
interesting.
yeah,
From our book. You know what I'm
Yeah.
referring to?
And
Yeah.
and the dimensions.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
Yes.
watch. Mhm.
Yeah, and because and that's something that I've shared as well was a group last week, is because those dimensions are all interesting one by one, and they're all important. But what we notice in the work that we do, as Ellen described very earlier in the podcast, is that when you change something, the rest changes at the same time, and every single dimension has an impact on the others. And we often compare that to, we come from Switzerland, so we have to talk about watches, when we're from Switzerland. So in a Swiss watch, when you change something, there's different gears that make the watch function well. So if you compare our well-being, whether it's on the physical or intellectual or emotional or any other of the dimensions, if you compare that to the gears, you understand how important it is to be conscious of the impact it will have when you change your physical dimension, the impact it will have on how you feel emotionally, and vice versa. When you think about the impact of emotions on how how you feel to face the financial struggles, or to make sure that you are prepared emotionally speaking when you don't feel that alignment between what you do, the context, the environment where you are. But on the other hand, when you feel great where you are, it has an impact on how you perform, on how you feel,
And not only do we need
on other
to
people, or use in
adjust.
the social
Oh, sorry.
community. No, go ahead.
No, you got cut off for a minute, so I was just
Oh,
filling in just in case there was a problem. So not only do we need to look at each gear separately, but then we need to wind up the whole watch every once in a while and kind of keep the whole thing going.
yeah.
So it's really, that's the concept that we have, and I'm sure that as a holistic health coach, functional medicine, you know exactly, right?
Oh yeah, it all flows into like exactly what you both of you are saying. When something is physically off, then it kind of dovetails into our emotional piece. Like when we're in pain, our our or mental piece, or we, it just all flows into one. So when you I don't want to say fix, but when you correct your emotion to finances,
You align it.
aligning, exactly, you're aligning everything. And when you're aligning everything, I love the chakras basically. When you're aligning everything, you're in homeostasis, you're in alignment,
totally.
exactly, you're where you're
And what's important again, and again, I listened to a few of your podcasts, it said often midlife, and we're not going to give it an age. It could be 40, could be 60, whatever.
Yeah.
Midlife, we call it an itch. You experienced it. Some people call it a disease, whatever it might be, but there's something that happens midlife with most people where they need to realign. It's about realigning. And
Right.
it's not only okay, it's a really good thing. And again, what we say is don't grow old waiting. Do it. Just do it. Realign, figure it out. And we support people in doing that.
Right.
And that's also why we started by naming Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive with Wake Up, because if you are conscious that there's something going on, or that you have a niche for change, or that there is something happening in your life that is actually a great opportunity to do things differently, that waking up, that consciousness is always, always the first step to go through. And one thing that we're very serious and very passionate about as well is once you have that consciousness being awake, there's no like, oh yeah, I know I have something to change, but there's nothing I can do because that's the way I am. And that's where we are confronted with a lot of bias, and the bias are coming from our side, internal bias, whether it's internal values, principles.
Limiting
But
beliefs.
that's simply not true, that things are the way they are, and there's nothing I can do. So a lot of the work that we do is waking up the consciousness, but also give people the tools, the techniques, the solutions to say, okay, if I want to change something, what can I tangibly do to make it happen and happen the way I want? It's like, jumping from a plane. You don't just jump from a plane without being prepared. And what we see is that people who are prepared for the future decades are those who enjoy it the most. And those say, oh, I'll see when I get there, because I'm not comfortable addressing those topics right now, are those who keep postponing something because they simply don't know what to do. So we're very serious about giving people tangible solutions, and not only talking about it, but making the changes.
Yeah, I love, that way, that approach, right? So then my question is, could you give a tip, like one tip that you can give my audience and me? So yeah. go ahead.
Yes. So I'm gonna share something in our book, Wake Up,
Yeah.
Shake Up, Thrive. It's called How to Lift Up Your Life in Your 50s and Beyond. We have a lot of 40-year-olds that read our book, though it's quite interesting. Swiss secrets to not growing old. We don't want to grow old. We don't want to get old. We want to grow older. So for each dimension, actually, we can give a very practical tip. So in the physical dimension, and I propose we can really do this quickly, Dominique, we can just rebound off each other, do the 5 dimensions and give one tip per dimension. Does that work?
Yeah, perfect.
I think we'll just have time. And
yeah,
what I wanted to say about the book is that about a fourth of the book is what we call the Thrive Guide. So 3/4 of the book is reading, but then the last quarter is the Thrive Guide. So I'm going to grab one tip from each dimension from the Thrive Guide, because we believe in not working like a helicopter that comes in and makes a huge mess and flies away. We want to plant the seeds so that people can grow with it and thrive. So in the physical dimension, the one tip I would give people, whatever their age, start tracking. And I know you're going, Elizabeth, thank God she said that, because I know you think, whether it's your food, whether it's your step count, whether it's how you sleep. Yeah. And you're going to relate them to each other. Like, notice the day that you drank more coffee, maybe you slept less. That was a really easy one. All we ask is for you to track. There are simple free apps out there that is raising awareness. And what I would say is, pick one area to start tracking in. And then when you feel comfortable about that, go to the next gear. When you feel more comfortable about that, jump to the next gear. Go at your pace, but start with awareness. Your turn, Dominique.
So emotions, and we see that at every age, again, as Ellen mentioned for the previous dimension, is not tracking how many, but how you feel on the day or in the morning, and how to extend and enhance your vocabulary about emotions. And not saying, oh, I feel great, or I don't feel like doing anything today, but it's really naming. We have a say in our book, say, name it to tame it, is to be precise in terms of the emotions that you feel, to trigger a discussion with people around you and find out about how they feel and how you can help them, or how you're going to share that energy, because emotions is about energy, and energy from within, and energy exchange with other people. So that's about emotions, is to name precisely how you feel in the morning.
And
Dominique,
or in the
I
love what you said, because you really said how you feel, because we have a habit, Elizabeth, of saying, I am sad, I am stressed, embodying it. You aren't sad or stressed. You're Elizabeth. You notice you are feeling. I mean, that's to Brene Brown, but that's really important for that step. Intellectual dimension, the one tip we say is the word change. So far we've had track, feel, now we're on change. Change something. You want to keep those neural pathways in your brain young from the time you turn 25, actually. And you can only do that by creating new neural pathways. Maybe it's brushing your teeth with the other hand. Maybe it's tying your shoes backwards. Maybe it's taking a different way to work. Anything you can change. Maybe it's hanging out with different people. Maybe it's changing your job. Make small changes and they will keep you thriving and going and keep your intellectual capacity as young as possible. Your turn, Dom.
So spiritual, we like to think about spiritual in terms of alignment. And to be aligned, you need to be conscious also of what drives you very deep inside, your values and principles. So it's about sensing, and it's about finding out about what your true values are and how do they make you function when they are there, when they are present in your life, or when they are baffled, when they are not treated well, and what impact it has on you and on your alignment with the universe. So we talk a lot about the values there.
And we use the words drivers and drainers. Figure out in your life what drives you and what drains you. Start just by listing that, and you can start identifying what's important to you today. And again, this changes every 5 years. So it's really a worthwhile exercise, even to do with other people. Last but not least is the financial dimension. And again, the word we're going to use here is count. And I don't mean count your money. We want to count how often you talk about money. Count how often you think about money. Count how often you're worried about money. Count how often you actually dig down and know where you're at with money. These are questions that are not about calculating. They may result in needing to upskill at one point in your money mindset. But by doing this, and the last thing about the money is count how often you speak about it. Is this a taboo conversation, or are you honest with others and others with you about your financial situation and with yourself, not in denial? So there we did a real quick spin. How did that feel, Elizabeth?
Oh, I mean, goodness, I learned a lot, and there's a
Goodie
lot
bag.
of takeaways, and yeah, there's a lot of takeaways from this, and I'm sure my audience and me, I didn't write everything down, but once I, re-listen, I will definitely be taking notes at this point. So for you, my audience, hopefully, and I will mention this, again, paper, pen, make sure that you write these things down. And I will also be putting your book in the show notes. So I'll link to your book in the show notes so that this way I'm going to buy it. I'm sure a lot of people in my, from my audience are going to buy it, because this is just things that we all need to just sit down, spend some time, really dig into. What are we actually saying? What are we actually doing? And being mindful of that, being mindful and then getting that alignment. But I love one thing that I wanted to add in terms of the finance. You said how much we're talking about it. Not only how much, but what are we saying about it?
Yes.
Right. So what are the words that are coming out of our mouths? Because a lot of times it is ingrained in our childhood.
Exactly. Digging deep. Why is it our money culture?
Right.
We actually have a little test on that. On our website, there are lots of freebies. There's a resource hub, and we actually have miniature quizzes. And if people are interested, they can go and just download those quizzes, and they don't have to write everything down, and they can quiz themselves.
Yeah.
And what that does, Elizabeth, is it allows them to situate themselves and decide where they want to prioritize next. So where they want to go next. Yeah. And again, we've created we say it's like a bathroom book. So you can leave it in the bathroom and pick it up and read a little piece anytime, especially the Thrive Guide. Yeah. Because it's we've given you one of each tips, and we probably have 100 in each dimension here, but at least it gets people thinking and enthusiastic about that next step. And we just say, again, don't grow old waiting.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. It's been helpful. This has been helpful for me because I've been trying to I say in quotes, air quotes, hack my age. You know,
Mhm.
getting older, I feel young. I in my opinion, I look young. So how do I hack
So you
that?
are young.
Well, and that's the thing. Like again, you know, I always say, you know, you are, how young are you? Like, and that, you know, I don't say how old are you? How young are you? Like birthday, how young are you?
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you know
and
what?
it's,
There's
yeah, it's just a matter of
we have
retraining.
a phrase that we love to start our sessions with. We ask people, how old are you? And then we ask, how old do you feel?
Right.
And then given if there's a gap there,
Right.
then we actually, it starts a huge conversation, and we can say that to all of your listeners. Ask yourself tonight,
Right.
how old are you? And how old do you feel?
Right. And if you feel older than you are, let's work on that. Let's, you know,
Right,
there,
right.
it doesn't
Sure.
have to be that way. It does not have to be that way. It's not an end all. It's not the end of your life once you hit midlife, right? It's not
No,
the
it's the
end.
beginning, and
It's the
Exactly.
beginning.
the attitude you have about aging determines the way you age. That
Exactly.
is science that shows that, and that we
Amazing.
explore that a lot in our book.
Amazing.
And just to add on that is to remember that we all have both the right, the freedom, and the responsibility to manage the changes that we go through. And there's always a solutions.
Right. Always. Always. Well, I am so grateful you both have been on the show. You know, tips, tricks, like conversation has been so valuable. And I, you know, I would love to do a part 2 on this. You know, I'm
Do you
going
know we
to,
would love to do a part 2 on entrepreneurs, the success of entrepreneurs
I
as of
think,
45, because we've
That would be
been doing
great.
some publishing on that. And if you think your audience would be interested in that,
yes.
we would love to.
Yes, I think, and that's exactly, you know, again, I'm going to be a little bit selfish. It's something that I would love to know as well. So, and to
Perfect.
learn.
We
So
would love
yes,
to.
part 2, we'll do that. We'll have that as a main topic. And I'm so excited that you are here. So both of you, let us know where we can find you, where we can reach out to you. I know that you're in Europe, but I'm, you know, we're all worldwide here, so there is no stopping from connection. So where can we connect?
Dom, go ahead, you can take.
So the easiest one is to find us on LinkedIn, where you'll have all our details and way to connect. And you can also find us on our website, which is Wake Up, Shake Up, Thrive in one word.com. And that's where you'll find videos, tips, resources,
The first 2
free
chapters of the book.
chapters of the book, and plenty of resources for free that anyone can use at the tip of their click on their keyboard.
Perfect. I'll be sure to put all of this in the show notes. Thank you
Thank
both
you,
so
Elizabeth.
much. It has been
Thank
a
you for
pleasure.
inviting us.
Yes. Yes. So
Thank you.
stay tuned
We'll see you
for
next time, and we'll bring chocolate.
awesome. Would love that. I love Swiss
We'll do that.
chocolate.
We
Yes.
thought so. We thought so. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you,
too.
Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Bye.